that was shown in the studies to be the most effective kind of parenting. Right? That in the long run, the children benefited the most from this approach to parenting, rather than two people arguing about how to do something. Children don't, they don't filter, they don't differentiate, they don't understand that you're arguing about their best interests. All they hear is their parents are arguing about them, right? So that does a tremendous thing to the child's self-esteem and ego. They think, oh, I'm bad, I'm doing something bad, even though it's the parents who are just trying to figure something out, but in high volume conflict, right? So clearly talking is the first initial step. And so I'm wondering if you know, I'd love you guys in 25, 30, 50 years to look back at the talk show arena and if it has had any evolution forward, so that then there's actually maybe strategizing and planning and action that comes out of it. So maybe we're in the first steps of social compromise, right? So, but like Gabby said, that you can't just talk without having action. You have to have some kind of action has to come out of it.
That's like entertainment. Like,
what do you mean?
Like shows like Maury and stuff. I mean, people like laugh at that. Like, look at these fools, you know? And even if it's like some serious matter, they still look like fools, like the teenagers and stuff. You know, you don't know me. You don't know. You know. You know, it should be more talking like more of an encouragement to be proactive rather than.
Well,
just,
what kind of talking would be the most effective?
Well, first you need to get to them, and like somebody, you know, like they're not just going to listen to anybody.
Well,
they need somebody that they look up to tell them that, like, you know, what they're doing is wrong. You know.
So is talking like I'm criticizing my husband about the way he puts my son to sleep?
No.
Is that talking?
Talking, but when I meant talking, I meant talking
No, I
and
know.
compromising.
Right, I know. But I'm just, I think it's worth clarification, right? That's again another word that gets a lot of connotations connected to it, that talking actually means two people listening to each other, right? It's not just I'm talking, you're listening, right? And that's very hard to do, right, Anthony? It's very hard to sit down and like listen to somebody and even
Actually understand.
yeah, and accept that they have some criticisms of you maybe, and I mean that's very hard. That's very hard. And that's not to say, again, not to take advantage of the situation. Oh, we'll sit down and talk and you can just tell me, rip into me. That's not productive either, right? So talking has to have a purpose. It has to have a goal, right? And the goal has to be effectual change. Effectual meaning beneficial and effective for everyone involved. Okay, but that's very difficult because, as we know, the world is made up of so many different people with needs and desires. Brandon?
I was gonna say it's kind of like scared straight programs. You have the bad children coming in. You have someone went through the same thing they went through, trying to explain to them exactly if you go the same thing. Maybe like me behind jail, behind bars. Like I showed my nephew the other day, the scared straight program they had on A&E, and he said, "That's not gonna happen to me." I told him that can happen to you. The same thing happened to my brother, but he went to a program and he changed his life since that.
Right. So mentorship is an excellent form of talking, especially in situations like that where someone is.
That seems to be the only way to get through it. You know.
Right.
Not even just like scaring them, putting fear into them. You know, this is what's gonna happen if you don't straighten up. You know.
Yeah.
If you're all nice and calm about it, you're like, yeah, whatever.
I know.
I'll change if I want to.
It's very odd to me, yeah. We just, it's hard to respond to people when they just judiciously, you know, like when they're like, why don't you just, you know, get yourself together? This is like, I'm really concerned. No. We have to push all the boundaries, right? It's human nature.
I don't think anyone takes those, like Anthony said, the Jerry Springer, Maury shows kind of seriously, though.
Right.
It's more of like just for entertainment because people like to watch stupid things, you know. So like, it's more like if people actually react like that. There are people like that, obviously, but like you said, it's not gonna help because the more you make it of a problem and you kind of try to scare them, the more they'll just like continue on doing it.
See you Monday, L304. Don't forget. Okay. All right.
As opposed to what he said, to try to make them understand, kind of mentoring or.
Right. Well, I mean, we have a very specific cultural context for this in our American context. You know, we have this talk show culture, we have the touchy-feely, we have the new age culture. You know, there's a lot of facets of our culture that could be considered kind of laughable, you know, and because they're taken sort of into this entertainment. For Americans, everything sort of comes down to entertainment, right? It seems like. But if you recontextualize that, and let's say we went to Congo with Chris Dolan, you wouldn't exactly be having Maury Povich or, you know, these discussions with like children, soldiers would not be so open to that. You know what I mean? So, so we have to, I think it's very important to broaden our own thinking and context and connotations that we bring to a lot of words, like talking, right? Talking has, like, especially when you think about couples talking, right? A lot of guys like they laugh about that. Like, oh man, talking, that's all women want to do. Talk. And then women are like, man, men never talk. They never talk, right? So
Actually, I think it's kind of starting to change. I don't know about the men here, but I'm just saying, I think it's starting to change now. They're more open.
right. But what I want to emphasize is that, again, we have to look from our own context. And this goes back to the first article that we discussed yesterday about the parenting, right? Dads have their own way of parenting. Moms have their own way of parenting. Men have their own way of communicating. Women have their way of communicating. So it's not so much, the problem is that there's a schism, right? That you parent your way, I parent my way, and we fight about it, right? You be a man and I be a woman and we fight about it, right? So all of these articles are addressing the fact that this doesn't work, right? Fighting about your differences doesn't work, especially when you have like nations to build peacefully and children to raise and school systems to develop, right? That this fighting doesn't work. It's not beneficial to the people and the recipients of these things. That, and you know, this is maybe a utopian idea, but the idea is that there has to be some level of you do things your way, I do my things my way, as long as they're not detrimental, right? Like what was the problem in the first article? The moms didn't feel the activity that the father was doing with the daughter of being in the garage fixing cars was appropriate, right?